Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have another deep dive session in front of us, and I'm really looking forward to getting some reflections together with Marie Hadengue and Kristy Anamoutou on the future of management. Enjoy!
Thank you very much for being here with us today. We are competing with big names in other sessions, so thank you for being here and having the courage to look forward and to deep dive into what the next generation would be, and especially, knowledge workers. So my name is Marine. As a background, I am an engineer, but I also have a PhD in innovation management. I work as a professor at Schema Business School, which is a French government business school. But I don't teach anymore because now I spend all my time working on this amazing project. I'm the CEO of the Higher Education for Good Foundation. The foundation is based in Switzerland. It's, of course, a non-profit organization, and we have this amazing project called Youth Talks. And we have co-led this amazing project with Talks with Kristy since the last 3 years, I think. So the idea today will be to, first of all, it will be an interactive session, so you guys will have to work a bit. We want you to wake up at that point. So a real deep dive session. What we will do is that everything that we will talk about today will rely on the Youth Talks study that we conducted for the last 3 years, as I mentioned. We discovered amazing things about this new generation, so we will mainly talk about the Gen Z, the famous Gen Z generation. The young people that are not so easy to understand these days, in fact. And we will deep dive into several new characteristics of this new generation, so we can try to all together better understand what they want and how we can adapt basis. So it's a better fit for them, for us, and hopefully for a more sustainable world. Alright, so before we start to work, maybe small introduction here. So of course, we recently witnessed a very important for transformation in management. We have been talking about the next management since this morning. And all these questions, I guess, emerge mainly, but this is my opinion here, but I think mainly because, this new generation is not happy with workplaces that we have right now, right? They are not loyal anymore. They leave their work to travel around the world. We do not really understand why, what's going on. We spend years to train them to make sure that they are efficient at work, and then at some point, after 1 or 2 years, they announce you that, hey, I want to go and travel and discover the world. Okay, so we have been facing this, what we call the great resignation, right? And we are wondering ourselves, okay, what's going on? So we want to better understand what they want and how we can retain these brains in our companies. Over the past years, deep and meaningful discussions, of course, have highlighted what management practices should embody in today's rapidly changing world, especially as young knowledge workers are entering the market with these new expectations. And today's session, as I mentioned, aims to be very interactive. We're not experts in all the topics that we will discuss today. You guys are also the experts. Before going forward and presenting to you some of the results of this Youth Talks consultation, so we have this basis so we can work together, let me maybe share a few words about Peter Drucker here, because we're at the Peter Drucker Forum. Yesterday night I had the chance to attend a very VIP session at the house of Peter Drucker. He grew up in that house. As probably most of you know, Peter Drucker was born in Vienna, and he grew up in this house in the 19th district of Vienna. And we were invited, and we had the chance to learn more about his life and what he did. So, as you know already, probably also also, so Peter Drucker was a political philosopher, management consultant, and educator, often referred as to the father of modern management, of course. And his work reaches many disciplines, and this is the beauty of it, right? The work of Peter Drucker bridges philosophy, but also mathematics, economy, etc., etc. He used to, so his parents used to organize discussions in this house. They have what they call salon, and they discussed with philosophers, historians, people. Even in the health industry, they were having many different people from having different background coming here and having these discussions. And Peter Drucker, as a child, was allowed to attend this discussion and listen to these discussions. So that's the beauty of it, and that's the reason why he was so multidisciplinary by nature, if you want. Drucker was one of the first to highlight the idea that work should provide fulfillment. And apparently he used that word, fulfillment, and right now we are talking about fulfillment on a daily basis, right, when we think about work and talk about work. He also talked about purpose. So for him, just giving a paycheck at the end of the month to the employees was not enough. Employees needed to understand the purpose of their work, so they wanted to come to work, to come at work, and be motivated to do this work. He believed that individuals derive, meaning from their contributions to larger work, of course. An idea foundational to modern discussions on employee engagement and organizational culture. So if you think about all this, Drucker was definitely a visionary already at this time. Now going back maybe to the discussions during the plenary session of this morning, we talked about the fact that organizations should now be safe places, safe homes, right? The organization is a home because people go there almost on a daily basis. At least, now we have more work, but let's say like 3, 4, 5 days a week. So it has to be a safe place. We talked about making the organization less instrumental and more humanistic. And here I would like to quote the CEO of Vinci, and it might seem a bit naive, but the CEO, this person said, we need first to have purpose, and then profit will come with that purpose, because people will be motivated and will be able to give their best for a specific goal, specific mission. So the question that I have for you guys now is, you keep in mind what Peter Drucker said now a few years ago. You think about what this CEO and many other CEOs are now saying about the fact that we need to make sure that there is purpose at work, and I'm asking that question to you. Do you think that during the last years we created these safe homes for the employees? Guess what? I think young people disagree with the fact that we created these safe homes. And I think that they don't want to live in these homes anymore. They want more, and that's the main issue that we face right now. These homes are mainly instrumental, not humanistic, and we want to make them happy. We work a lot to make them happy, but what we have in mind all the time is that let's make them happier so they can work more, be more efficient, so we make more profit. So guess what? They know that. They can see that. We cannot fool them. It doesn't work that way. So the first one who needs to believe in the purpose and in the mission of the company are ourselves, so they can also believe in it and they can follow this journey. All right, so this was the introduction on my end. Do you have any question or comment at that point? As an interactive session, I think it's important. If not, I will go through some of the results of this consultation, which should inspire you to talk more about what we can bring to these young generations. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I have to ask you to use your mic because the session is recorded.
Just because because we talk about so many different words and generations, etc. Before we move into the session, can you get specific what you mean with the young person?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we'll show you today, so we collected data from young people aged from 15 to 29 years old. And most of them were between 19 and 24, right? We really targeted this generation Z that I mentioned. Good. Okay, we can keep going. Alright, so I guess I have to use that one. So youth talks. So we decided to launch that consultation 3 years ago. We had no partners. We started from scratch. But what we had in mind is that, okay, the name of the foundation is Higher Education for Good. So we want to improve education, higher education for a better world, to better fit the needs of the young people. And to do so, we thought that it was quite natural to start with a consultation, a global consultation, asking young people, hey guys, what do you want? And then you can tell me, you know, Marie, a lot of surveys do that job already. We know that, but what we made very different here is that we ask young people open-ended questions, so they can share whatever they wanted. And when you do that kind of exercise, you realize that asking people closed-ended questions, forcing these people to, you know, pick a specific box. They have 4 boxes and they have to fit in one of them. Then you find that kind of results. Okay, 85% of young people think this or that. So guess what? It's not true. When you let them express themselves freely, first of all, you discover that there are many, many colors. And second of all, you realize that they talk about things that you would not expect. And these are the results that we found. So I don't want to spend much time on this, but as you can understand, our mission is really to capture these young people's voices, to transform, to analyze everything, and to make sure that the deliverables are accessible to you guys, to decision makers, organizations, so these young people can at least have a voice in the decisions to come. So for that first edition, we had about 50,000 participants coming from all over the world, 212 countries and territories. This makes it the largest youth consultation ever, I would like to mention, especially asking open-ended questions. If you look at other consultation using open-ended questions, you will find out that the UNESCO did that exercise a couple of years ago and they had 1,000 something respondents. We now have 70 partners, including the UN, the UNESCO. We have 3,000 ambassadors, these young people willing to help us promote the consultation. And these young people, they shared with us 1 million ideas. So of course we had to use AI tools to analyze all these ideas, because if not, you know, what can you do? So a couple of years ago, we were not able to do that kind of scientific exercise because we didn't have the tool to analyze all the answers. So these are the partners. So again, going back on the mission, and please feel free to leave with the Youth Talks reports at the end of the session if you want to. The idea is that feel free to reach out to us because we are here again to really capture the young people's voices and then transform these voices, feed different stakeholders in the society so they can better understand how to answer their needs and adapt their strategies. So we started, as I mentioned, with Youth Talks Consultation Edition #1, and for that one I would like to maybe share a couple of results with you. Everything is accessible online, it's open, it's free. So these are just, I guess, some teasers for you guys to go online and discover more about the results. So as you can see here, we had thousands of participants coming from all over the world, all parts of the world. You can, again, all the information is available online. If I try to show you some striking results right now, so this is the kind of questions that we ask the young people. I hope that you can see that in the back. When I think about the future, what I wish for myself, and they can then answer whatever they wanted. Here, what we can see is that are the different results according to the different geographical zones, right? If you go on the website, you will be able to cut the world into 17 regions. But here, as we wanted for you guys to be able to see the graphs, of course we have less regions here. As you can see in green here, and I would like to highlight here, this is North America and this is Europe and Central Asia, but we didn't have much respondents from Russia, meaning that here, up here you have what we call the Western world, okay? And if you look at this, the Western world looks very different from the rest of the world here. In the Western world, young people talk about happiness, and when we say personal happiness, this is the green bar, by the way. If you open that box, you will find all the sentences and the verbatim coming from the young people. They talk about joy, being happy, fulfillment. Okay, so there is something missing here for them. If you look at the rest of the world, they will talk first about individual success, meaning having success academically speaking, having success professionally speaking. So first of all, when we talk about, let's say, a mental health crisis in our world, when we think about the younger generations, we are about to launch a new consultation on that topic, by the way, but the question is it really a mental health crisis, a global one, or from the Western world, and what is the meaning of that kind of results, okay? So food for thoughts here. If I go to another results, okay, when I think about the future, what I wish to, sorry.
Oh yeah, so the personal happiness, the one you were just showing.
Yes.
So you mentioned when we talk about the crisis, the mental health crisis, whether we are then really talking about the world or the Western world. But wouldn't you say that because you mentioned that in the rest of the world it's personal success, wouldn't you say that this is maybe due to like the circumstances and how kids and young people are being brought up in that part of the world, that is what matters? So what I would read here for me is maybe not that young people in Europe and the Western world have a crisis, rather than that they have been brought up, that we are bringing them up to put emphasis on other things than success.
That's a good comment. If I was sure that I had the answer, I would respond. I think I don't. But what I can tell you here, of course, is that, you know, this is all about the Maslow pyramid, in the sense that you have certain needs that you need to fulfill. You have to have a house, you have to be able to eat, and then after that you can ask yourself, hey, am I happy? So that's maybe a partial answer. Second thing being, I don't know if you guys travel, but I travel a lot, and what I see most of the time is that in these other countries, yes, young people, even though young people, they don't have much, and especially in very poor countries, they don't have much money, they don't have much things, of course, but they, for some reason, sometimes they look, I would say, happier in the inside, and I'm very cautious here, okay, and I understand that a lot of them would like to go and live in the Western world to earn more money and things like this. But then you go back to the Western world and you look at these young people who have all the money and things that they want, and they're not happy. And then you have this mental health crisis with more and more young people needing medication to get better. So these are open-ended questions for you guys at that point. The thing is, we are about, as I mentioned, to launch a new consultation on mental health and well-being in partnership with the UNESCO, exactly for that reason. So thank you for that comment. Okay, when I think about the future, what I wish, sorry. So it would be a very interactive question, Kristy.
I may have missed it, but how did you pick the categories? I mean, I'm saying there's a long tradition starting with the social relations department at Harvard, and then McLellan talked also about different categories, achievement, power, etc. And then also career anchors, and actually I also talk about life anchors. How did you pick those things?
Yeah, that's a very
Because when you look at it, you can make some arguments about interrelationships and things like that. I was curious.
No, that's a very good question. So, as a researcher myself, I was kind of obsessed since the beginning of the project with making sure that we were as robust as we could in terms of the methodology, the scientific methodology behind the analysis. So we had that board of professors working with us, a scientific committee. If you go on the website, by the way, we published the methodology notes. So you will find everything that we did from the beginning to the end. And here, Kristy is the expert, so she will probably answer that better regarding the technology that we used. But then, before she starts with the technology and the way we proceeded, just so you know, we had these researchers working with us, making sure that we crossed over all the categories, making sure that we designed the... So, if you think about it, this is traditional qualitative, analysis on a huge database, so it's qualitative work in a quantitative context. So she will answer for the... Yeah.
I just complete the answer. So hello everyone. To identify the category, in fact, we run a semantic analysis with natural language processing. So each contribution we received, we had first action to regroup, clusterize this contribution when they were expressing about the same theme. So what we can notice here, if you take a look to the result, 36% of the contribution mentioned concern or an aspiration related to happiness. And that's the clustering part for the algorithm. We didn't limit ourselves to just 5 categories or 5 fields. In fact, per questions, we have an average of 136 fields. If you take a look to the report, for example, and you just cross the page, you will see all the referentials per questions. So the semantic analysis is there to, as Marine expressed in the beginning, when we have open-ended question, to reflect the multifaceted views of the youth in terms of expectation. And I think the ladies in the back, you had a question.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for this very detailed analysis. It's very interesting. My question was, when you mentioned Maslow's hierarchy, do you see any overlap between the urban poor of the Western world and middle-income children, or young people from the rest of the world?
Maybe here because as Marine said, we are not experts, so we have the ability to compare the answers from the different regions and the different also household revenues from the respondents. And this is something that we try to explore in the area of the survey to say, okay, what can we notice about Maslow pyramid over referential? But you have the ability, in fact, if you want to compare, to go on the website, you have access to a comparison per sub-area, and here you can compare the data. And if you want to compare this data, we also provide an access to a researcher for the database, so that's something you can do.
Yes, thank you. The database is available. To complete, this is a very descriptive work that we did first. I would like to emphasize this. Now we have research teams all around the world working on the dataset right now to establish more correlations and to go deeper. It was not the purpose of that first very descriptive analysis. And third, to also answer a bit more your questions, if you look at the sub-clusters, so if you look here, for example, for the cluster that we call peace, you will see peaceful world and of course harmony, less violence, less conflict, less oppression. So, and this, what you can read here is literally what young people wrote, okay? Most of them did not write like long sentences. They really wrote concepts for us, to us. All right, so going back maybe to what I was mentioning, so I have to go fast, I'm so sorry, I encourage you to explore by yourself. When I think about the future, what I wish for the world, and here what you can see is that most of them were talking about peace. By the way, it was before the war between Palestine and Israel. And peace comes first, and then after peace you will find, especially in the Western world, the environmental protection, etc. But peace comes first. So here, most of the time, people say to us, yeah, you know, young people always talk about peace. Yeah, maybe if they do, we missed something at some point. So maybe we need to think humbly about this. What collective issues do we need to address to build the future we want? So that was the question. So of course, everywhere in the world they talk about environmental issues. By the way, you need to look at the sample here and how that sample is composed, and you will see that we tried to be as balanced as we can. But of course, I'm not sure that most of our sample is composed with really poor young people, all right? So here, what strikes us is the fact that if you look at that, they did not talk about technology. We have been talking about technology since this morning, right? AI, etc. They didn't talk about it. And going even forward, if you look at that question, so to build this desired future, what we must all learn in life. So by the way, we had the same question for what we must all learn at school, and the results was kind of the same. The priority number one is what we call personal values and virtues. By the way, retrospectively, I'm not sure that we should have called this personal values and virtues. If you open that box, you will see that they talk about respect, open-mindedness, solidarity, empathy. So they're not talking about soft skills. They are talking about being able to interact with other humans, right? So I'm not sure if you realize this, but you have to imagine that results is the same for what we need to learn at school, meaning at university, because they are between 19 and 24, maybe. Meaning that these young people scream something to us, like we do not know how to interact with other human beings anymore. I'm not a sociologist, and I don't want to, share things that would be wrong with you guys, but what I can tell you is that it's probably related with the lack of communities. Peter Drucker talked a lot about the importance of communities. So for him, the company, the firm, was responsible for creating that community. So people can belong to that community, right? We don't have communities anymore. Families are kind of exploded because, we are traveling a lot. The mother and the father work together. Both of them are working. So you have this, then you have social media, isolation, and then you will also find probably the results of the pandemic. But what we found here is that young people again are trying to tell us, can we please relearn how to live together and how to interact properly with other human beings, which was something that was striking for us. Because if you think about it, if we close the question, and if we had to put boxes here so they can pick a box, we would definitely not have put that box. I think we have a question here, so.
Quickly move over here. Can you tell me again, because we were talking about what young people say that we need to learn are these personal values and virtues. How do you tie that to the lack of community? Because it can also be interpreted as a very individualistic response.
Can you please just explain a bit more about the individualistic response? So how do you tie this to the individualistic phenomenon?
If you look at it, it talks about personal values. It talks about what matters for me. Just like you saw in the previous slides, right? It's personal happiness. It doesn't necessarily create any link to community. I can be extremely happy personally. I can work out my own values. It doesn't say anything about my link to my community. But maybe that is my assumption and my bias that I'd be happy to be more happy.
Thank you for that comment. It's interesting. The way, so as you can imagine, I mentioned before, like let's say more than 70% of young people, they answered like really clear concepts, and others elaborated a bit more. So we're able to extract what we call the nuggets And these nuggets were more, as I mentioned, developed answers. So we were able to put more context to these words. You know, I would be happy to deep dive into your hypothesis, and maybe it's a good one. As I mentioned before, I'm not a sociologist, but what we could see through what they expressed, looking at this, reading these nuggets that I just mentioned, is the fact that they were like tremendously looking at connecting more with other young people, especially. So yeah, maybe you want to
Just going to the page of the nuggets just to show its structure.
Yes. You want me to open one?
Yeah, it's just, you know, to live in a community, that is to say, to interact with others in order to learn something. When we do the semantic analysis, we also look for the nuggets, the best qualitative contribution based on the format of contribution, on the shared experience, on the details, and we add per questions, I think an average of 1,500 nuggets. That's why we're able to connect the answers with when people request to learn about respect, humility, or communication, or empathy. It's really in relations to other individuals.
So we need to be even more interactive. Okay, we have maybe one last question, and then we'd like to make you guys do things.
So, what do you think? Hello, my name is Anamoutou. I'm the founder of a private school in Romania. So, how do you think educational institutions can adapt or should adapt the curriculum in order to satisfy the needs of the younger generations? Because it's very important how we link the school with the companies and with the lives of the youngest.
So thank you for that question. So I am a board member of the Peter Drucker Society also, and these days we think a lot about the next management and of course the next education, especially management education, because when you look at these results, you're wondering yourself, okay, what should we change? So thank you for that question. Again, if I had the answer, I would have been very rich. So of course I don't. Now what we think at that point is that, you know, it's all about the paradigms, right, behind the teaching, especially, and I'm sorry, I will talk about business schools because this is what I know more. In business schools these days, the strong paradigms underlying like every courses is more efficiency, better results, but the definition of more efficiency and better results is always linked to more profits. And by the way, we need companies to grow and to make profits. I'm not talking about this here, but it's at the end of the day, it's making more profit, not for the employees themselves, but for the shareholders, right, guys? I mean, we know that. And if you remember well, corporations at the beginning were created to make sure that people could have decent jobs, you know, and yeah, have decent living. So where am I going here? So if we try to move from making more profits for the shareholders to something like more individual dignity and collective well-being, and by the way, there are amazing scientific articles on that topic wrote by a researcher in the US called Michael Pearson. He talks about this, and the guy is a neuroscientist, so he will link all what I just said with the brain, which is very interesting. So again, if we go from more profit for a few people to more dignity and well-being for common people, maybe it will be a bit better, and it should be the paradigm behind all of our courses in management schools, maybe. By the way, I use the term school of management or management schools, whatever, because I don't like to use the term business schools, but it's all related to this. All right, where am I? So yeah, let's go forward. So the idea today again was to going back to the Mentimeter, sorry, Yeah, just a quick comment here. So after that big consultation, because young people didn't talk about technology, we were so struck that we decided to launch a consultation on technology. On some tables, you will find this manifesto. 5,000 young people participated in writing that manifesto, talking about AI and education, AI and well-being, and AI and the planet. So if you are curious about how they integrate technologies and AI in their lives, please read this and you will probably find some answers. And as I mentioned, we're about to launch this new one with the UNESCO on mental health and well-being. So we would like now, for the rest of the session, we still have about half an hour to do so, to deep dive into the reflections on the future of management, and especially this next generation of knowledge workers.
Perhaps just before, maybe you need to connect, please, with your smartphone to this website. As we expect from your site to be interactive, either you can scan the QR code or you can enter, go to www.menti.com, enter the following code 39033840, and it will allow you to see the slides and the question on your smartphone or laptop.
And it will also allow them to access the card. At some point we will show you some cards. You will be able to have these cards on your smartphone. All good?
Yes, and you can already react as you see the different options. If you want to leave any comments or any questions on slides, you can also, but we try to
Great, that's great.
wait 19 people.
Good. Should I go forward?
Yeah, the code will still be displayed on the site. We can go back. So the idea is we add the results from the edition 1 of Youth Talk. We add also the result from the debate, because the debate on AI was not with open-ended questions, but with really forums of conversation, where the youth from all over the world came to discuss and to really debate on what will be the added value of AI in education, what could be also the opportunities, the risks, and so on. And we just decided with Marine to prepare this session with you. Okay, what do we notice as really a paradigm shift in terms of the expectation of the Generation Z about work, about life, about the corporation, about the society? Do we notice any shift happening? And we have analyzed and merged the different answers, and the idea today is to really introduce to you the 7 main shifts that we have identified, and you will select the ones you want to deep dive on, and we can work on the
So, I hope that you can see them, what we could identify from the data, but again, we are not the experts here. You guys are probably more the experts, so we will discuss all of these different shifts. We could identify a shift in relationship with the individual itself. The individuals were often defined by their professional role and conformity to social norms. That was before, and now it's more about emphasizing authenticity, self-expression, and personal meaning. So again, we will deep dive into some of them. Oh, good, thank you. Amazing. We also have the health shift. Before it was not the problem of the company, mental health, physical health. Hey, you come here to work, you come, you leave. If you have mental health problems, that's your problem, that's not the problem of the company. These days, it changed a bit. What we witness is more like a company has to have a holistic approach. They are responsible in certain for your mental health well-being, which could be confusing at some point, but hey, it's the case. If we think about the company, the organization as a home for the employees, then it makes sense for the home to also be in some capacity in charge for the mental health states. You have the relationship with work. You know, it was good to be loyal to your company. Oh, I have a question here. Yeah.
I'm curious whether the language used in the previous session came from the young people or it came from, it seems very negatively biased. So I'm curious if they used those words to describe the previous situation or whether they fed that as the previous situation and replied it in the new situation as the desired future state. I'm just curious where those descriptors came from.
Oh, that's a good one. So definitely, so we, as Kristy mentioned, we used the study to extract these shifts, relying on their comments and their verbatim and their sentences. Now, if you think that the way it is put here, like this specific sentence, looks too negative, this might be our fault, right? I want to be careful here, right? So we are here to explore in this together. And again, this is what was extracted from the data, but the way this sentence is... No, of course, no, you're right. This is our work for us to go deeper with you guys. That's right. Okay.
I'm going to make a call out to everyone. Even if half of this is true, let's embrace that and work with that rather than constantly trying to find out, is it really true? So the yes but is rule, I think, is really not helping because this not understanding, even if it's only 30% or 50%, but a large part of sentiment that I constantly see that we don't understand, so we're going to debate it. And debating will never help in a dialogue to actually find out where's the handshake between the Gen Z and current leadership or people like 50 years old like me. Because that's, I think, what's happening here. That you do the talking and just see what do we do with it. Because that's, I think, the ultimate thing that we need to do.
Okay, so I'm trying to... Okay, so I'm trying to follow here. So what we showed you previously was completely...
I'm saying the group is constantly debating whether this is true.
Oh.
Let's just embrace what's here. Even if it's only 50%, let's work with that.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be completely
Great.
true.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we keep going.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we used to be seen as good workers who were loyal, maybe working in one company during our life, or maybe two. Now it's not how it works. If you look at these young people, and if you look again at the data that we collected, and again, the words that I showed you before are the words from the young people. These ones are ours. So when you guys will work at your table, please feel free to change these words and to deep dive a bit more if it's necessary. But now today, they want work to be a fulfillment, right? It's not only about going to work and making some money, it has to have a purpose, etc., etc. Should I go? Yeah.
Okay, just to summarize the topic, there is different themes. So, as Marianne said, the hierarchy, what is the relationship to hierarchy, what is the relationship to management style, to leadership style, and also how do I perceive the corporation of just the firm or the organization they work for. And after we also see some shift in terms of what could be, what should be the relationship with the society and also with the future generation. So these are the themes really transversal that we can notice. And the idea now is more to make you select the one you want to deep dive, because we will then reveal what is shifting in terms of dynamic, but also what we can maybe take lessons from the data in terms of rethinking the way we think about leadership, the way we think about work, and just taking insight from there and say, okay, maybe we will see an example here. You have a session to vote. It's more we don't have time to deep dive on everything, so you can pick the one you prefer to explore with us.
And we will explore, and we will ask you guys to talk about it at your table with your colleagues, because we would like you to share your different experiences, and also with the room after that. We don't have much time, I'm so sorry, you guys had too many questions, but it seems that you are interested in the topic, which is good.
Can you vote? Yeah. Okay, perfect.
So if you could vote, that would be helpful.
Just want to
So what bugs you the most?
For the time being, only 4 votes, 5 voters. So leadership style, relationship to work and to future generation. And if we don't have the time to deep dive on the films, you will still have access to the Menti, and you will see the way we have organized the deep dive. Per films, you have a card just highlighting the main trends, the key facts, the shifts. Okay? Okay. So I will close the vote in 10 seconds. So leadership style and the work. Okay, we will focus on that. So I'm closing the vote, is it okay? Leadership style? Ah, sorry. I just saw future generation coming back. Okay, so we close the vote. Compartmentalization. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So we go to the leadership style. Taylor Swift. Good debate. So to make it short, here we noticed the shift in terms of expectation of young people about the way they want to be lead. And the single phrase is the shift is happening from really the former command and control style to being leaders with a catalytic power. How do you unleash talent? How do you develop people? We said with Kristy, this is not new. Leaders are there to inspire and to develop people, but what we noticed when we view the results, it's really how do we go from this really one, let's say, top-down communication to how is the leader facilitator of conversation? How will the leader really foster collective intelligence, collaboration amongst the talent in the ecosystem inside the corporation, but also outside the corporation? So the legitimacy of the leader is not anymore and you know that on the title, it's also on the soft skills or I may say the new currencies, more the skills to listen to be able to frame the question, to be able also to have empathy with people. And we can notice when we see the results, the generation they want to contribute, they want to give their voice to the chapter when you discuss about the purpose of the company, about the strategy of the company, about the product. They don't want just to be, the passenger in the train. They want really to share their opinion. And the role of the leader is how do you create a platform to listen to these ideas? It's not to provide them the tools to decide, it's really to provide the space and the platform to listen.
Yeah. Let's be a bit more provocative here, and by the way, here we go back to what we collected, and these are their words to answer your questions. Let's be a bit more provocative here. I'm not sure if you know, you're aware of what they're doing at Bayer, this pharmaceutical company, but they kind of abolished top managers, whatever. They have teams. They kind of abolished hierarchy. And by the way, the company is not doing so well these days, so this is a big question. Yeah, this is a big question, but we're talking about this yesterday at the board meeting of the Picture Joker Society, looking at these interviews of the CEO saying, hey, now it's not anymore about leadership, it's about coaching. I don't know. I don't want to give you my opinion on that matter, but this is like more provocative talk here. So you guys can maybe discuss it at your tables and then share your insights. Unfortunately, we will only be able to do one topic for the matters of time, maybe two. But still, as Kristy mentioned, thanks to the QR code, you have access to all the cards that we produced, so you can think about this on your own or with your colleagues. Can you please, would you like to add something on that topic?
Yes, just to understand how we use the data, when you see evolution towards collaboration and leadership development focus, it's mainly the answers about what do you want to learn in life. And this is where the company or the enterprise have a role to develop the people. So that's why we are able to say most of the expectations are related to the leadership style, but also to the way they want to be developed. And you have quickly on the card where we see also the shift in terms of approach to say, okay, maybe you can say the coaching style is already existing since 10, 20 years in corporate management, so what is new now? What is new is the fact that this is an expectation for every leaders, so with or without title, and if you take a look to the core skills, it's really how can you facilitate multi-directional dialogue, how can you inspire and coach base your people, and how do you create this atmosphere for participative environment. These are just questions we ask, and maybe I don't know if you have time to collect the feedback, because we have
Let's them work. Yeah.
Maybe you disagree with this result, and that's why we wanted to have an interactive session. So, have you ever experienced this paradigm shift in your organization? When there is a shift in terms of expectation from the generation Z in terms of management, have you experienced it? Yes. You experienced this happen or not? So thank you very much. Maybe we move to the next question. We wanted to have time for you on tables to discuss, okay, what is this experience about? But I think the main question is, what do you think is difficult for leaders with regard to this paradigm shift? When we think about the set of skills that seems relevant for the Gen Z when they think about the leadership, when the leaders, what is difficult? Is it to rethink about the leadership models or skills?
Please share your experiences at your tables, and then we will see if some of you would like to share with the room. Go ahead, yeah. We'll give you a couple of minutes now.
So, if you can stop the conversation, please. Sorry. Thank you. Just to the virtual noise button, just grabbing it. I have this discussion where instead of interesting at the table, we also wanted to ask your opinion about, in your opinion, what is difficult when you think about the status quo and what is existing currently in leadership, or what is the most challenging part. So we already had some answers. Maybe someone would like to comment on the answers that they have shared.
If you want to share your experience, this is also the time to do so.
Maybe a big one, striking a balance between being assertive and being empathetic, especially for female leaders. Maybe people who share this challenge want to comment and to provide some context just for a moment to listen. Oh, yes, please, come to the microphone.
I've been a young female leader, and I find that this is a growing problem because a lot of the role models that young men have are not good. A lot of the values that are given to them about showmanship or being macho come in the way of respect that would normally show a position. So that's a concern I have.
So do you mean in another way that it will be more difficult for young men raised in this culture of leadership to go for this new style of leadership, catalytic leadership, empathetic leadership? Maybe another comment on that part, or the submission we have?
By the way, we have a lot of women in the room for this session, which is Interesting. Any comment from a man? Yeah, you should know.
So,
Yeah, maybe we do the second one and then we have to stop. So the second thing that you need, okay.
maybe yes, this, I think this answers paradigm shift may not be generational, but societal shift in expectations. This is why we had also the film societal to see what is also shifting in terms of value and representation for people. But for the time being, the data are only from youth participants, so that's why we cannot say it's a global shift happening.
Empowering people who do not have the experience or skills.
Someone would like to comment on this one, just to...
Better jumping. You guys are afraid of that topic? No? No comments? No? You don't know, right? You are, yeah, I can feel that. Sorry.
okay.
Maybe. Ego fear. Can I just comment on that topic? Please, thank you. So maybe also you can give us a little bit of a hint on that. So in my experience, we are very often talking about that people want responsibility, but of course they need the skills to take the responsibility. This is a skill up topic where we have to work on before we can do kind of a transformation like that. But then very often in my area, I come to the point that the people don't want to go into leadership. Yeah, they want to steer on a topic-wise, but not people-wise. And this is what I experience, that they don't want to take the responsibility to lead people. Is this also something which you get out of your survey? Just to better understand, are you talking about young people when you say people or people in general? Especially about young people, yeah? So when you say maybe they are 28 and they are now at the point where they can took over a first leadership role, then very often I experience that nobody wants to take it.
And there is maybe another trend I've noticed, but I come back to the result. They distinguish two things. They don't want, especially, and don't expect management role, but they can still have leadership roles, which is they request in fact trainings to understand how to manage people, how to motivate people. So when we see the answers from what you learn in life, that's why we have so example, a lot of expectations about how to lead, how to collaborate, how to work with people, how to better communicate. So maybe as they lack these skills to be better leader, that's why they need to learn them first. Maybe this is why they are afraid to have a leadership position, or if they don't expect they want it.
Thank you. And to bridge with your comments, it's like, so they want to become life leaders. So, and you mentioned being leader on a specific topic, but then when it comes to be leaders at work, they don't want to take responsibility, right? They're not interested to do so. Does anyone in the room experience the same thing? Because I did, and I guess Kristy did. Okay, you too. Can you please raise your hands? They don't want to. Okay, that's interesting. We were also discussing with the Peter Drucker Society board, because for the topic of next year, they were thinking about different topics, and we discussed that thing, like, do young people want to become leaders, not in the sense like leaders in life, they talked about influencers, you know? A lot of them want to become influencers, but then it's about being a leader in life, but they don't want to become leaders in their companies, that they're not interested in this. And so regarding the topic of the next year, I don't want to share too much here, but that was a concern. Like, should we still talk about leadership? Does it make sense to talk about leadership in the professional context, management context, with this new young generation? Any comment on this before we close the session? You know, what is very interesting here is that I can see many question marks in your eyes, meaning that we are not quite sure about what's going on. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we're not experts at that point, but what we brought to you guys, we tried to bring you this really authentic testimonies from these young people. So 1 million ideas were shared, and we're trying to bring you these ideas in the best way so you can use it to think about what we discussed today and have maybe less question marks in your eyes in a couple of months. Please go ahead. We are not allowed to take that last question. I'm so sorry. So thank you very much. I'm so sorry. We needed like 2 hours for that work. You guys had a lot of questions. Thank you for attending that session. Please feel free to reach out to us if you want to be part of this, if you have more questions. Yeah, that's it, and wish you good luck with all these different challenges, which are big challenges.